Hey, it's Paula from On a String, and welcome to my Design on the Fly session featuring the colour purple today. So really happy to have you here. Thanks for those that are joining in. Colour purple for me is probably one of my challenge colours. I don't have a lot of pieces in purple to actually share with you today. And I want to thank Michelle from Beadworx up in Queensland as the supplier of the beads that I'm going to unbox shortly for everybody to see today. Normally when I do these, I like to show some of the pieces I've made, whether it's in the theme or the colour. And I just had a little bit of a search to find things in purple in my, bead room here. They are few and far between. So this is going to be one of those challenge colours for me today. And I've got a little guide here that hopefully will help me with working with the colour purple. So before I get started on unboxing, I thought what I'd just show you is some of the things when I say some things, I've literally got 3 things in this bead room that have got purple featured in them. So it's not a huge colour palette for me. So I thought I'd just show you some of them. So one of the very simple, easy ones I have here is a pair of polymer clay purple earrings. So this really doesn't even have beading on it, but it has got some purple pieces. And I can't remember the lady, Karen, somebody, I think I bought those from ages ago. So I have some purple earrings. I have my piece from the Bead Society Challenge a couple of years ago, which heavily featured purple, and it was the 2 large 27 mil crystals were the part of that challenge. And I used that with one of these vintage buttons that came from Angie up in Chicky Babes and created this purple piece. So when I say purple on this, to me, it's not the primary colour of this. It's actually the silver and rose gold that is the feature colours. But that was one experimentation into using purple for me. And the other piece I have, literally, I've got 2 really beaded pieces, is this one here, which is a new design that I've been working on called the Snap, Crackle and Pop necklace. So this actually has purple and red and lavender as the sort of colours within that as well. And that's it from me as a non-purple wearing girl. So tell me in the comments your thoughts about purple. It's something you like. Please say hi, and I'll do my best to, chat to you as we go along today. So what I thought I'd do is flip the camera over and let's unbox and see what it is that we've actually got here today. So here's the package of beads that have come from Michelle. So purple ribbon, thanks Michelle, and a bit of pink too, which is really nice. As you can see, I've not opened these yet, so who knows what's going to be in this box today. And please, hi Tori, nice to see you here. A girl who I think does love purple. I think Tori's a purple girl. I know a green girl, definitely. Okay, let's see what we've got. I'm good. Michelle's done a bit of a list here today as well. Oh, okay. Oh, these look interesting. Okay, we'll look at the list in a moment. So what have we got here? We've got some crystal lilac fire polish beads. So they're a nice lightish sort of purple colour. I've got some Lipsies in Divine Lilac. I've been using Lipsy beads in a couple of other projects recently, so I really like these. These are lovely to have a bit of a look at. Okay, we've got some pinch beads in Magic Blue, they're actually called, but they've definitely got a purple tinge to them. Some fire polish in Crystal Metallic Ice Violet. Some little tiny 2 mil lavender pearls. These are pretty, I like those. Some Samos beads in Chatoyant Grape. There you go, there's a purple name for you. What are these ones? Some gem duos in Pastel Lilac. Some Magic Blue Check daggers, the 3x11. So they've got a pinky, greeny, purpley tone to them. And some Piros beads in the dark violet light matte. So I used some Piros beads. I hadn't seen these before. I did those, the celebration earrings that I did for International Bead Week Design on the Fly using those. So great to have another colour of these to use. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so what are we going to make with these today? This is going to be a bit challenging for me because there's no big focal for me to start with. Normally I tend to find I have a nice big focal bead which always gives me something to work off and build around. So I'm going to have to think a little bit creatively around what would be the centerpiece for this. And let me have a bit of a look in one of my drawers over here and see if I do have some sort of, when I do, I certainly will have some polymer clay things in purple. So I've got lots of different boxes of polymer clays, and this is one. So there's a nice goldy piece here that might look nice with purple. This one, oh, that one will work really well. This one comes from Deb Myers up in Queensland, and that little bit of purpley pink green there might work really well. I've got a nice shield shape. This one's from Julie at Pepper Bead, so little bits of purple and bronze in there as well. What else is in here that's got a purple tone to it? That's more a pink, that one. It's a Jenny Church piece. Oh, look at that. I've got a matching one here from Julie's work. So there are actually two of those there that could potentially work together. That's more pink, black and white. So that's that box. So yeah, I do like to have a focal if I can to sort of start some of these, because it does help with setting the direction of where the piece is going to go. So there's a couple of options there. I'll just get out another box of polymer clay pieces and see what else I've got here. There's a lavender sort of one. Okay, so here's some other pieces that I've collected over the years. So there's a blue sort of piece, but I don't think that blue's going, it might go really nicely as a contrast. And I'll talk about what I'm going to do with some contrast with purple as well. That's a beautiful piece. A girl in Western Australia made those for me. Naomi, I think it was. So I've got those in sort of pinks as well, but they're not going to work with that. The other thing I have is this lovely lavender piece here, which is a Leanne Fergus shield. This one, I mean, this is going to work really well with that sort of pale lilac sort of colour. So, and I can bring in a little bit of pale blue there too with that little contrast piece in there. You went straight for the floral clay piece. Okay, this one here, Tori, the greens. Yeah, I really like that one. And this is a lovely piece. I don't know if you can see there on the camera, but it's actually got some raised pieces to it as well. So it's got a real set of definition there with that raised edge. And Deb's done a beautiful job. It's just got some glaze over the flower parts, whereas the black matte background really sets that off. So that may be one of the pieces that I utilise. There's no more purple in that. One of the other things I've bought over the years, I bought these earring pieces from a girl called Julie Ryder, and these are hand-painted pieces that she does. So I think these make really nice focals as well. So there's something in that too. So it's all about trying to find components wherever you can to build into that work. So let's have a bit of a play around. So I'm going to do a vote. What do you think, people? Which one will we have a look at today? I've got my three choices here. So there's the pale lilac-y pink one with the pale blue, which is a Leanne Fergus piece. I've got the Deb Myers green with that sort of pinky purple. It's not a real purple, but there's definitely a pinky purple tone to that one as well. Or I've got the Julie from Pepper Beads black with a little bit of copper and purple pieces in it as well. So some really good choices there potentially to start with that. One of the other things that, you know, adding to something like this might well be a crystal or some sort of top piece that would sit particularly on that shield shape, would be something like, let's get out the rivoli box. You know, some sort of rivoli would sit really nicely on the top of that. So I could bring in that sort of purpley blue tones and set that. Julie's piece. Okay, there's one vote for Julie's. Any other suggestions, votes for Julie's, for Leanne's, or for Deb's? Or, you know, Paula, do all three. Maybe not today, but I definitely could. So see, that sort of purpley crystal looks really good there with that, tones really well with that one. I'm not sure that I'd do anything else with this piece, and definitely I would do something with this piece because of the asymmetrical. All right, these all an odd shape. Okay, definitely middle's got more contrast. All right, let's start with Deb's piece. Okay, so Deb's piece here, I mean, these are beautiful in their own right. They often actually don't need a huge amount of work to be done to them, but a square piece is a really nice piece to bezel. And I think, you know, some of these colours, this sort of lavender Lipsi works really well with it, as does that sort of Samos bead as well. But I'm going to have to bring in green because of the green colours that are there on that clay. So let me find some green and see what I've got there to add into it. Get out my green box. And the green, you know, there's this sort of beautiful Duracoat green, which goes really well with it, that one there. But it is a Duracoat, so it's a bit shiny, and I don't know whether it's too shiny. Potentially that's a little bit light, that aquary sort of colour there. That's not a bad match. That's the Seafoam is not a bad match. That sort of greeny matte colour might work as well. What other colour works with that green? There's the pale sort of green. I don't really like that one. I think it's a bit bright. Oh, that's a good match. So there you go. That's called a Picasso Seafoam Green Matte. I actually really like that one with it. Okay, there's a green to go with it. And it really is just a matter of trying to find some contrast to build in with this piece. Now, given it's a square, I'm actually going to mount that on a piece of stiff stuff. So let's grab out some stiff stuff here. So far I haven't actually done anything with purple, so that's really interesting, Paula. That's what the whole thing is about. But I'm going to get some black stiff stuff because I'm working with a black piece. And I'm just going to cut a piece that's a little bit bigger than that sort of oblong shape there. That'll do. And mount that. And then I want to build out some purple contrasts around the edge of this piece. So something like these sort of little gem duo lilacs might look really nice as a sort of a crown at the top. Potentially I could do some of the daggers to hang from the bottom of that piece as well. So let's just have a bit of a play around. Now, obviously with this sort of shape, when you're going to bezel it, you really do need to build up the sides and then come up over the top. But this is such a lovely piece that I actually don't want to cover right over the edges of this. So I may think about how to actually secure that, you know, potentially by drilling through and sewing through to that on and gluing it so that I'm not actually covering right over the edge of that piece. Because when you actually bezel something and you go right over the edge of it, you lose that sort of tiny edge of the piece. Well, I don't want to do that with this because it's so lovely. So I've got this really nice center part here, which would be beautifully fringed with beads if I drill a hole in it and glue it on. So that could be one way, and then I could repeat that sort of down at this end so it's potentially secured in two places. So I think that's how I'll actually do it. So let me just get some glue out first. Okay. And I'm just going to glue the back of this. If my glue is going to cooperate, it might be a bit dried, so I'll get another glue out. I'm just going to use, I was going to use some E6000, but let's try this one and see how this goes. I do have some Loctite glue here as well, which that will work. So I'm just going to put a couple of dabs on the back here. This is like super glue stuff. It's pretty powerful, so try not to get it on your fingers or anything like that. And I'm just going to glue that down onto my piece there. Just hold that for a sec. Oh no, that's not sticking. Okay, let's hold that again. I may have to find some E6000, go back to one of my bead boxes and see what's around. Okay, now I'm going to grab my drill out because I want to drill a hole so that I can actually hold that in place. So you may have seen me use this bit of board that I have with all the holes in it. That's usually my stand that I hold things on as I'm going to drill. And I'm going to drill right into this polymer clay piece, right in the center hole just there of that flower. So I've drilled all the way through. You can see I've drilled all the way through. And I'm going to do another hole somewhere down here. Okay, so I've now sort of got two spots there that I'm going to attach that piece. So this is a bit different in terms of setting a polymer clay piece on a piece of foam or, stiff stuff. I'm not doing a edge all the way around that's going to come up over the edge of the piece because I actually don't want to lose the beautiful work that's in this polymer clay. And I will do some beaded edging around it, which is why my piece is piece of stiff stuff is bigger than the polymer clay focal. But I don't want to cover up too much of what is in the piece. So I'm just threading a piece of fire line, 6mm. I'm going to put a little knot in the back of it, and then I'm going to do some sort of fringing through that flower center. Okay, so let's go back to the purple theme. So I've got this lovely green that matches really well. I've got some little sort of fire polish in the lilac-y colours. I've got those little 2mm pearls. They'll look nice with that as well. And I think there was some 3mm fire polish too. So let's just grab out some of them and see how that goes with really nice as that sort of little fringe on the top of that piece. So there's some of the purple. And potentially, no, that's too big, the dagger. Let's grab some of the fire polish as well. So there we go. There's a green and purple piece. And one of the things I thought I'd sort of show today around colour contrasts and working with colours like purple, potentially that you're not as familiar with like me. I have these colour cube cards. So these are from the Sarah Clark colour cubes, and they've got all these different cards in them with contrast colours. So you can see here this sort of purple and green contrast. So they take photographs and pick out all of the colours that contrast and go really well with that. So there's some inspiration there around some of the sort of purple and yellow. There's some really bright contrasts with some of those with purple too, and there's a more muted purple tones and these beautiful photographs of hyacinths, and you can see all the various shades of purple that are within that contrast there. I love the purple and orange together. That's a really nice colour contrast, I think. Purple and green, which is a pretty standard colour contrast, and then that sort of purple and mustard. So there's just some other ways if you're thinking about how to contrast a colour together. These colour cards are a really good guide. All right, let's get back to what we were doing on here. Okay, so I've got my hole, I've drilled it, it's sort of glued, yep, it stayed stiff. So I'm just going to push the needle through to the back here. And I want to just attach the thread. So I'm just going to go through that stiff stuff a couple of times so that it's secure. Now, thanks, Michelle, for the beads today. Real purple beads that I have to think about what to actually add to them to give me something to actually work from. I mean, some of the others, I think I've got a bit of an idea now of how I'll use those to create a standalone piece, but having something central to build off first is a good way to get me started on doing these design on the flies, gets my inspiration flowing. Okay, come on, through you go. It's not cooperating. Oh, maybe I might just put a bead at the back first. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm just going to pop a bead in the back of that to give me something to hang on to. Maybe just one of these little size 11s will work in the first instance. I don't want it to be too prominent though, because I don't want it to raise up from the back of what this piece is. So I'll just pop one size 11 in, and hopefully that's going to fit into that hole nicely. I pull the tail, and let's just push that so that it goes in. Not going to go in. No, I need a size 15. There you go. That's the whole of that is just too big for that 11. So we'll try a 15. Okay, another bead out. I'm just grabbing any sort of colour that I've got here on my desk at the moment. I'm not sort of thinking about it because the back of this is going to be covered anyway. But I just need something to anchor onto for that hole that I've drilled in Deb's beautiful piece. So I'll just pop a 15 on that. And yep, that's gone in that hole much easier. Great. Okay, so now I've got a sort of, anchoring start point. Just popped right out then. The 15 might be too small. Okay, try again. Gosh, I'm not having much luck here with this at the minute. I am going to put an 11 in as well because that's going to fit in the hole, I think. Yep. All I'm trying to do is just secure that mounting thread so that I've got something to build the fringe off on this. And it's really just been about trying to attach the piece of clay so that I can work around this edge without covering over the edge. Yep, let's come up through that 11. Oh gosh, it's popped off again. Gosh, my technique's not working real well at the minute. Try again. As you know, when you watch me do these design on the flies, I literally am making this up as we go. So my mistakes, my technique, what I'm going to make is all to be decided literally as we go. So you get to see things that I do, think about my process for how I'm making things. It's all about the design mentality when I do these. I've just popped another 11 in there. So I've now got 2 11s in that sort of hole just to give me a foundation to pull that through on that thread. Okay. Yep, that's feeling, I'm pulling that really tightly now and that's feeling really secure. I'm actually just going to knot that tail in amongst that as well, just to give a little bit extra security there too. Okay, now, so now I've got my thread mounted through the hole. Thank goodness it's finally got there. I'm going to do some sort of fringing in the greens there. And let's pop in one of these sort of purple little fire polished, and then potentially one of those 15 size 15 silver beads as well. And come back through, skip over the 15, go through the fire polish and the 3 size 11s and push that through to the back of the work there as well. So what I'm doing is creating more 3D dimension with this piece. And you can see that little size 11 that I popped at the back becomes a really good anchor point for me then to push that fringing back through the hole and create another little set of fringe off that as well. So again, I'm going to repeat the same thing. 3, let's try one of these little 2mm pearls this time and a size 15 bead. And again, I'm just going to skip over the 15 and go through the little 2mm and the 3 size 11s back through that hole. Hole's getting nice and full now of beads and things that I've put in there, but I want to keep sort of trying to build some more fringe off that. So just sort of poke around until the needle takes like it did just then through that hole. Okay, so you can see now I've got 2 little fringes. Again, use that size 11 at the back as an anchor point for more fringe, and come back up through the center there and add another piece. Okay, so again, I'll do another little stack. So this little dimension just adds a point of difference when you're looking at a, what is a flat piece is now becoming dimensional. Now, I'm not able really to get through that hole anymore, so I'm just going to use the current fringes that I have there as anchor points now for this new fringe that I'm putting on. So literally just find a spot within the base size 11 beads to build out more fringe. And fringe to me, maybe 15, maybe 5, 6 fringes to sort of fill out that center of the flower. Some more size 15s. And I'm using the 15 silver, which is a really nice contrast and helps me bring silver in as another contrast color to these purple and green colour tones. And there's probably a card in my box of cards there that is pink, purple, silver and green if I looked really hard. There's about 1,000 cards though, so I didn't really look for exactly this colour combo. But yeah, great inspiration if you're looking for other ways to build different colour combos with purple. Okay, now I think I need another sort of centre bead on that, and it might be, I feel like it needs some sort of little round pearl there. So I'm just going to find a 4mm purple round. Not in that box. Other 4mm box. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I've got a few different sort of coloured purpley ones. And I feel like it needs something like one of these in the middle of it. So this is a mauvey sort of purple druck colour. And that just right in the centre of that fringe with a 15 on top of it is what I'm sort of thinking. Again, just to try and either get all the way through that hole. Yep, it's gone all the way through. Untangle that. So you can see there that different element of dimension that 4mm has created. Okay, yep, that's starting to look really good. Now, I might just add another couple of fringes on that. So again, use that size 11 bead that's at the back to create an anchor point. Okay, so what are other people doing today? Beading, watching me, thinking about colour palettes. And where are we watching from today? So I know there's a couple of Melbourne people here today. Okay, it looks really nice, just that really simple beaded element onto the polymer clay piece. And it's another way to capture a focal without having to do a cabochon edge all the way around a piece. So without ruining that, beautiful work of Deb's polymer clay. And if I can get it through the hole in the middle, I will. Okay, there's a nice bit of dimension right there now on that piece. So what I'm going to do, Bo, now is I'm going to come down to this other hole down here and do a similar thing. So then my work is actually attached in a couple of spots on here. And if I can get through the center hole again, I'm just sort of shoving my needle in there, hoping that it'll go through. Doesn't appear to be. And sometimes when I'm doing this type of, trying to force something, I may get my pliers and utilize my pliers to help give me a bit of tension in pushing that through. So I'm just grabbing those out now. And just use the pliers to sort of push through that work. See how that just sort of helps push that through? And I'm not, trying to shove it all the way. Purple nail polish would have been nice, Rosemary. I did think of that last night when I did my nails, that I should have done a purple colour, and I didn't. Okay, that's come all the way through at the back, which is great. I can now take that tail thread off because that's annoying and it's in the way. So let me just remove the tail thread. And I'm going to come up through that other hole. Now, given that the top piece of fringe that I've just done is, the top, and I'm calling it the top center, that one would be a more prominent piece of decoration than what I will do on the second piece. And that's about sort of scale and dimension. So this is a full flower, so it's got a full central piece on here. So if I come down to this other hole that I created at the bottom, that's not a full flower. It's sort of off to the side a little bit. So I wouldn't do as big a decoration on this one. So just a couple of little fringes on this one. And then potentially another one of those single purple 4mm beads as well, just to tie that back as the same sort of piece. So again, I've just, come through the hole a couple of times. Add on one of these little 2mm, a silver bead. So the purple and greens is a really nice colour combo together, particularly with that little bit of silver attached to it as well. And the way that, Deb's got these raised elements on the piece of clay really just helps with the dimensional work that I'm adding to it now with beads. Where's those little one of these? And the single purple 4mm is really in line with these other little dots that Deb's got on there as well. It just sort of themes all of that together. Okay, that's now secure. It's glued down. It's got a couple of beaded elements on it as well. And now I want to think about the edge that I'm going to do with this piece. So let's just bring the needle out right on the edge of a piece here. Now, what's Michelle provided? We've got these lovely lavender gem duos. We've got some fire polish lilacs. There's more of the purple fire polish here. They might work really well actually, particularly if I combine it with a green bead in between. So what if I did an 11, a fire polish and an 11, and I just backstitch that right around the edge here. Hi Joanne, welcome from Geelong. Nice to have you here with us today as well. So you can see here if I just do that purple, green and size 11, repeat that all the way around. Okay, so purple and green. So I'm just picking up 2 beads now and I'm just alternating the size 11 and the fire polish right around this edge. Now, being that this is a, stiff stuff is a foundation fabric, not a finishing fabric, for this, I will trim away this excess stiff stuff and do an edge on here as well. So I'm doing a beaded back stitch, so I'm popping on 2 beads and then going through 3 each time so that I get that nice neat beaded edge. And the reason that I've alternated the green and the purple, partly because I don't know how many purple beads I've got. Will there be enough essentially to go around the piece? So I have to think about the supplies that I have as well. But also I think the green and purple tie really nicely together too. So just doing that green and purple all the way around. And of course the other really good contrast colour to go with this would be black, obviously, given the black background. And that could be what I would do for, a silk ribbon or beaded rope could be black, just to tie back in with that piece all together. And maybe we might do some funky purple material maybe on the back of this piece as well as a bead embroidery piece. So if you've got some, beautiful polymer clay or other focals there, particularly ones that you don't want to cover the edge of, or you don't want to, change their view too much, you still want to add beads, not just a bail, think of ways like this, drilling a hole in the piece and attaching it in a different method to still add beads but still feature the clay work. Okay. Hi Glenda, nice to see you here. And of course, if you're popping in and out today, generally these videos they stay on Facebook, but they do end up on YouTube as well. So you can always find them on my YouTube channel. There's a whole lot of design on the fly videos and other bits and pieces on there. So by all means, we all have busy lives. If you can't stay the whole time and watch the live production, catch up later on YouTube if that suits. So just make sure I bring that back in under camera. I'll just caught that there. I think he's in purple and green, the colours of International Women's Day as well. So maybe I'm getting ready for a piece featuring International Women's Day in March, I think that is. But purple and green together, nice combo. Nice, Lavinia. Nice to see you here today too. Welcome. Rosemary's here, and Alex and Tori, and thanks team. I really appreciate it when you pop on live and see me literally make this up as I go. So thank you. Okay, now we're coming up to a corner, so I'm going to have to think about what a corner might look like. It could be an opportunity to include, one of the other beads potentially that has come from the kit from Michelle. So let's think about that. If I add a purple and a green, that's going to get me right to the corner like that. And then I may add another bead in there. So let's have a little bit of a look and see, is there something else? Or do I just sort of go around the corner with a couple of greens? I think I'll just do that. Maybe 3 greens around the corner. Yeah. See, I've just done the little tiny 3 greens just like that. So that gets me in the right spot now to continue on with the purple fire polish and the green edge. So purple, green. Let's just hope when I get to the other side that it's the same count, but I'll make it work. Why is it one going through? Now possibly with my little bit of glue that I put on that piece is just making it hard for me to get that needle through there. So again, I'm just going to come back with my pliers and use the strength of the pliers to push that needle through. So rather than put too much pressure on poking the needle around trying to get through, I've used the pliers to give me that little bit of extra push. There we go, that looks okay. So keep going. Purple and green. Okay, now I've got lots of other beads here to utilise today as well. Anyone got any suggestions of things they'd like to see me attempt to make today? Is there a component piece maybe? Potentially create another, use one of the other polymer clay focals maybe. Think about a standalone, I don't know. Happy to hear people's suggestions. Turn something into a brooch. I know brooches are something I really like to play around with as well. I could do that. Something like this could potentially turn into a brooch too, which might be nice. But I think it's a pendant. I really feel like it's a pendant. Purple and green. Again, I've landed right in the right spot to do those 3 greens. around the edge again now. That was good timing, good guessing by me to get that exactly right. So 1, 2, 3, green. And this is one of the beauties too of working with black stiff stuff as well. The black is really, really forgiving in terms of adding other beads and colours and blending into the background. So I do like to work with black on a dark piece like this. White stiff stuff would have really made any thread or errors or anything like that show up really, really prominently. So if you can get hold of black stiff stuff when you're doing some types of bead embroidery, black's fantastic for blending really well in the background of the piece. Okay, let's move those along. Now I'm going to come along and do an edge around these anyway, and the little fire polish just give that a really nice sparkle on that edge as well. All right, you want to see a brooch, Lavinia? Okay. Anybody else like to see this as a brooch or as a pendant? If I'm going to do a brooch, I'm going to attach the magnetic clasp now before I do anything. Drilling in the back. No, I'm not concerned it'll break, Rosemary. Rosemary's just asked if I'm concerned it'll break when drilling into the polymer clay. No, polymer clay's pretty tough for drilling holes into, and you know, a lot of people who make polymer clay earrings will drill on those all of the time. So it's really about where you place your hole. So I didn't place a hole too close to an edge because it would crack if it was close to an edge. I put the holes right in the sort of center of the thickness of the clay, so those holes are fine. And I wouldn't use too much pressure when drilling the hole. I just sort of gently push the drill in to make the hole. But polymer clay is pretty forgiving for drilling holes into. A good question, thank you. Nearly, what am I, 3/4 of the way through. I'm going to run out of thread shortly, so I will have to add more thread, but given this is bead embroidery, super, super easy to add more thread into a bead embroidery piece because it's just a matter of reattaching your thread somewhere on the foundation fabric, tying a knot in the end and adding a new thread in. So super easy. And I'm sure you've all got lots of different pieces of polymer there that you want to attach beads to. I know Glenda certainly will have some. So polymer clay, I love it as a focal piece. I love to get components from other people and use those in beadwork. And again, thanks to Michelle from Beadworx up in Queensland for the purple beads that are here today. And there's varying shades of purple in here. There's some lilac, some darkish purple, light purple, bluish purple. So Michelle's certainly given me a great selection of beads to work with today. And adding in a focal or central bead has helped give me something to actually build on that piece. So you can see there this resin from the shine that Deb's actually put on this clay is working really well with the shine off the fire polish beads. Yes, Glenda, you love purple. You know I don't love purple. It's not one of my favourites, but it does look really nice with the green contrast here as well. Okay, so I'm coming up to one of those ends again, and am I going to be able to fit another fire polish in? I think I will. think I'll have to, because that's, if you see there, that's too big a gap to just go the 3 beads around. I'm going to have to add a fire polish and a green there. Really just sizing this as I go to get the same look. Yep, that works well. So again, I'll just add my 3 little green beads on the corner. Like that. Okay. Now, am I going to have enough thread? Probably not. It's okay. Purple, green. So you don't need, you know, depending upon the size of the finished piece that you're making, if you're doing a big collar or something like that with stiff stuff, you'd be working with a much bigger piece of foundation fabric. But given that this is one sort of focal piece that I'm making, I don't need a huge amount of stiff stuff to work with, because I tend to find the bigger the piece of stiff stuff that you have, and when you're working on a larger piece, it's really easy to get caught up on the corners as you're working with your piece of stiff stuff. So by just using a small piece here and trimming away that excess, it's not really catching on the corners as I'm working with it. Just adding some more thread in here. Get your thread cutters, that'd be easier. Okay. And 2 ways I can do a join, because it is fire line, which I will do because I've got a nice little piece there on that tail to continue to work through. But I'm just pushing the knot right down to the work there so that I don't have to drag the knot through things too many times. Cut off the tails, give them a nice clean haircut. Get my cigarette lighter, and what size of the fire polish? The fire polish are a 3mm fire polish, Lavinia, that I'm working with this. So I've just done a little tiny knot there in my fire line so that I can continue working. But as I said, I've moved the knot down close to the work so that I'm not dragging it through beads or the fire line, the stiff stuff too much. So keep adding my purple and green. And I'm literally just sizing that, the width that I take the needle, or the length that I take the needle, is what is the length of a fire polish and a green bead together, and popping those in to do that bead embroidery back stitch. Going through. So how many have I got at the bottom? 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. So I'll do 4 fire polish at the top. And that's going to give me the little 3 green ones. Yep. Wow, that was really good guesstimating of how that edge was going to come together. Just put that on my pliers. Need some more green. Like that. So I think I'll do my 3 green and then 1 fire polish. We'll just about finish that off. So let's do all that in one go. So 2 green and 1 fire polish. And then feed into the green bead that I first started with. Look at that, perfect. So I'm just going to hold that up to the camera so you can see that. It's got the 4 fire polish at each end, top and bottom. Look at the sparkle that's coming from the fire polish and the resin on top of the polymer. And then, of course, those little fringed elements just to give it a bit of depth and dimension. Looks really pretty. All right, now I want to edge this piece. So I'm going to trim away the excess stiff stuff that is here, and then I'm going to glue some foundation fabric on the back so that we're not actually going to see it, but I am going to put a brooch back in it for you, Lavinia, and I'll show you what I use for these. Let me find them. Okay, so I talked about these and another design on the fly, but I didn't demonstrate them online. But What they are, they're little magnetic brooch backs that come in these plastic little coatings. So you can see here, you can stitch with this plastic and then just use the magnets to join them together. So I just got these from AliExpress or somewhere like that, and they're called sew-in magnets. So these work really well for brooches, and I'll show you where I've used them before. So you can see here on this flower one that I did, there is the magnetic brooch back is stitched into the back here, and then I've just attached that magnet like that on the piece. So same with this one, there's a plastic magnetic back stitched in, or foundation, and then I've just got the backing on that. So when you're using something like that, it's nice and flat. It doesn't put a hole in your clothes, which I really like. You can also then turn that into a pendant because it's not sticking out like some of the other pin brooch backs that you actually have to pin them into your clothes and they have a little bail to join on. So let's utilize one of these. So as I said, because they've got the plastic on them, I'll put one half aside and I will cut that plastic coating off later when it becomes the back of the magnet, or the back of the brooch. And if this is too big, I can trim some of this other plastic off the edge of this as well. So let's do that so I can stitch it down. So all I'm going to do is just take off some of that excess edge of the plastic piece here, like that, so that I can just stitch that onto my piece in the center. So let's go and just do that now. Now I've got to make sure that I stitch it the right way so that this is the magnet part that's going to stick to the other magnet. I don't know, magnet A, magnet B, whatever they're getting called. And I'm just going to bring my thread through to the back of the piece. Hi Laurelie, nice to see you here as well. Thanks for joining. And I'm just going to stitch this down by going up through that plastic a couple of times. Could glue it down as well, just to be more secure. And I've just got to be careful because the width of this piece, I don't want that, might trim a little bit more off that edge there. I want that to be inside the width of my polymer clay focal. So I'm just going to go up and down and stitch a few times. And look, I've got those lovely little edge threads that are there from the bead embroidery edge that I did, and I can just use them to catch the edge of the plastic, just like that. And this, of course, will all be hidden because we're going to do a backing fabric over the top of it. So I'm just gently catching that magnet by utilizing the threads that were part of the beaded edge that I did around the front. Just really gently, because this is also going to be covered with material. It will hold in place. So I don't have to, stitch it within an inch of its life. I'm really just trying to hold it in place on the back of my piece here by going through these edge threads. And because I've got that polymer clay piece is glued down, pretty hard to get the needle now right through all of that glue and clay, etc. So I'm just using the threads there to capture this magnet, tacking it really gently but firmly. So Lavinia, what do you think about that as a technique for a brooch back? Works really well. Just stitching that down. So I don't want to pull too firmly because the plastic, you can see there, it just sort of split a little bit. Not that it matters because we're going to cover it over, but I'm just gently tacking that with those threads all the way around. And now I'm going to find some purple material and cover the whole back, or trim it first and then cover it with some purple material and then edge it. Okay, so I've now got a magnet attached, and there's my other part of the magnet that I'll take that plastic coating off later. You can see how strong they are. They actually do stick together really well, which means I'm just going to make sure this is secure enough, and it will be. on the piece, a couple of stitches in there just to, so I'm not taking the plastic off the base piece because it's the sew-in part of it. And make sure it's sort of stitched down with those threads. It looks ugly at the back, but it's going to be covered. Okay. Move that rubbish. So there we go. There's the front with our beautiful edge, and I have a magnet sewn on the back. Sew in magnets, Lavinia, S-E-W, new word, I-N, sew in magnets. So I'll find a link of where I've actually got them from, and yeah, but AliExpress I think is where I got those from. So sew in magnets. Now let's have a look at some fabric here. So here's my fabric sort of box with, look at this purple. Maybe that's the one to utilise. What do you reckon on the back of that? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So this is actually quilting fabric. Now, I am not a quilter, but my sister is a quilter, and she gave me lots of little scraps of different sort of fabrics. And I've got them there for, you know, using in this type of thing. So this will be perfect for the backing of this, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that my thread stays out of the way. I don't want to cut it off. I'm going to utilise that thread, but I'm going to trim this excess stiff stuff off the side. And when I'm trimming this, because I've got to be mindful of my threads that I attached all those beads to, I'm just going to trim straight up and down. I'm just holding the scissors, not on an angle. I'm just doing it straight up and down on that edge so that I don't take away any of the threads that I've just added. So it's really it's a technique of how you hold your scissors when you do this. So holding the scissors straight, not on an angle, and trimming away that excess stiff stuff. And you can feel it. If you cut through, you can feel it straight away with the scissors, particularly with fire line. But there you go. I've just trimmed away all of that edge. There's the magnet in place as well. And now I want to mount that fabric and then trim the fabric. So when you're doing something like this, you can trace around and trim it. I tend to just sort of, well, I've got a little bit excess there, so I'll just cut some of that away. I tend to just glue it down and then trim the fabric, excess fabric off the edge. So I'm going to see if I can find some other E6000 glue, because that one that I had before was dead, and this one might be too. That's on my beading shopping list now, is some more E6000 glue. Sometimes I just cut the end off the tube and just go back to the other end of it and use it, which is what I just did then. So I'll just pop some of that on there. It's a little bit lumpy, but it will work. I'll spread it out. This is where the awl comes really handy as well, to spread that glue, or a toothpick or an ice cream stick or something like that. Just sort of squeezing out some of that glue. And I don't need this to be, you know, fully glued and stuck down, partly because I'm going to be covering this with fabric, but I'm just going to spread some of that glue over the edge. And again, I'm just using the awl to do that. If you had glue that was a little bit runnier than what this was, look, I can even use my thumb to do it. That's probably even easier. So I've just spread some glue. I'm not really putting it over the magnet because I don't want to impact the magnet either. And okay, now I'm just going to pop my fabric over the edge like that. And now I'm going to cut the fabric. So just push that down to stick it down. Okay, let's be brave and get the scissors out again. So that's glued down now, the fabric on the back of this piece. And I'm just going to, again, hold my scissors perfectly straight. I'm not going to be cutting through any threads this time, but I want to make sure that the fabric and the stiff stuff are the same size, so that when I do an edge stitch on them, it's really neat. these scissors are not the sharpest scissors in the shed. You know the saying, the sharpest tool, the sharpest scissors. Just make sure that my thread that I left from my workings is still there. I didn't cut through the thread. And now I've cut all the way through that piece. So you can see there's the back with that beautiful fabric in the purples and the greens, glued down exactly the same size as my edge piece. Now, I think I'm going to have to put some purple beads, more purple beads around the edge of this. So let's grab out some size 8 purple beads, and I'm just going to get a, there you go, that colour will do. This one is called a Duracoat Eggplant colour. And the reason I'm using size 8 is because I'm a bit lazy about doing an edge and I want to get it done as quickly as possible. So I'm picking up 2 size 8 beads and I'm just coming through the fabric and through the stiff stuff, and I'm flipping those beads so that they sit out like that and the holes are actually pointed outwards. So now I'll just pick up 1 bead and go through both the fabric and the stiff stuff, and then add the next bead, but flipping it so coming through so that the holes point outwards. What this does is it creates a really nice edge on your piece. It sandwiches together the polymer clay focal, the stiff stuff and the fabric all together, creates that nice little sandwich and gives you another element to add more beads to because of the direction of the holes of the beads. So they're now pointing outwards, which means that I can then do some sort of other fringe or element from that, which I will do as around on this. Now, you can also do that in this step. I could have picked up an edge bead at the same time and added that in, which is another way to actually do it. But I didn't do that. I'll do that, add that later. But you can do that as well. The little thread bridge that's between those beads is another good anchor point to add something onto. And I'll just continue adding. Now, because I used fabric, so fabric obviously has bead has not got a hole all the way through. There it is. A fabric can fray a little bit, so just by stitching over the top, I'm sort of covering any of those frayed edges as well. So it's nice, neat way to finish off beadwork. So don't be frightened to look at fabric if you're using bead embroidery to back it. I know you can use ultra suede and you can use leather. There's lots of different specific beading things, but I've used fabric a lot to do this too. And fabric, you know, there's so many varieties of color and print and all that sort of thing. And I always think it's a bit of a nice surprise on the back of a bead embroidery piece if there is that element of color and you know, different patterns and things that come from having fabric, not just a plain back. Now, this is interesting because I've got these sort of 3 beads here, and I might do something a little bit different on these corners just so that I can maximize putting in different elements. And it could be, I think that lavender is a bit light. It could be that I do maybe some more green beads. So let's just try picking up the green again. So I've just picked up 1 green. So it might be 5 maybe that'll go around that edge, or 3. So I'm tying that in with that other edge like that. Just to be a little bit different on the corners. You see that there? Okay, let's go back to the purple, size 8s. I think that looks good with the variation in that edge. So now that I've created this as a brooch, I will be able to turn this into a pendant as well. And to do that, I can use this edge beads that I'm putting in to be able to create a bail, to put a a rope through. I think a black rope is what works really well with this, but it creates it then to be a multi-purpose piece, particularly if I decorate the bail so that it's not just a bail, but it is an element of this piece. And I'm sort of thinking that some of the gem duo beads, etc., that I've got there from Michelle will be part of that. So I'll have a bit of a think about that. So I've now got to the other corner. So I'm going to do the green beads again, just on the corner. And I'm just sort of taking not huge stitches, but just making sure that I pick up the fabric, the stiff stuff, and the edge bead, just so that when you look at the back, you actually can't see any of the edge stitches around here either. I mean, it's partly because it's fabric and it's really hard to see any of that on the back, but it's a really neat way just to capture everything together, including covering off any of those frayed edges that comes from the fabric. That one just twisted itself. I went the wrong direction in that bead. I definitely got a tangle there. Come on. There we go. Okay. Now, I know a size 8 bead is, you know, we tend to use a lot of 11s and 15s and not always a size 8, but for edging pieces, I love a size 8 bead, particularly a size 8 demi-round as well. If you've seen me do some of this sort of work before, you know that's one of my favourite beads to use for edging. Gives a nice open lacy effect to it, and they're size 8, so they're super quick to utilise. But yeah, don't be frightened to use size 8 beads in your work at all. They're really handy for this type of thing. And when I'm doing this edge, I'm actually coming up through, and I'm coming sort of on the inside of that edge piece that I put around the focal, because it just gives an extra way to hold all of these things in place. You can't always get it exactly in between the edge beads and the bead that you're adding, but if you can, it does make it even more secure just to add that extra stitch in there in between all of the threads that are in the previous round of embroidery. So this is, yeah, it looks really nice, the purple, the green. So I've used the fire polish beads that Michelle has given me. I've used a couple of the little 2mm purple pearls. I've added some purple size 8 Duracoat beads for the edge, and I've added some green matte sort of green seafoam bead to put in with this piece, and a polymer clay focal that I had, which was one of Deb Meyer's pieces. So if you're interested in polymer clay work, Deb and some of the other people who are on here today, Glenda is one of them, are part of a group called the Handmade Alchemy, which has lots of different artists featuring some of their polymer clay pieces that you can purchase, and it is one of my favourite places to buy polymer clay from other people. So check out the Handmade Alchemy Facebook group if you're interested in polymer clay pieces. Okay, so I'm at this corner again, so I want to do the 3 beads, but I think I need to do one more purple before I get to that. Yep. So I'll do the 3 green again to match in with that other corner. One more. Like that. Okay, nearly at the end. So thanks for sticking with me while I've been doing this bead embroidery. It's a little bit boring to watch, but therapeutic too, I think. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing this piece come together. Now there is definitely, I think there's definitely a top and a bottom to this. I think that the larger flower is the top part of it. So that's the way it would hang for me as a pendant or a brooch. Even though I put the magnet in the middle, I think it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Just checking that I've got the same amount of purple top and bottom. I think the flower is the top. So that's the way I will do the bail. And I've got an idea about the decorative bail. I will do that at the top edge of this piece so that it can be hung with the flower from the top. Continue that on, nearly at the end. So within, what have I been doing this? An hour and 15 minutes. We've got a piece that could literally be worn as soon as I finish this little edge. I am going to do more to it, but it doesn't take much to jazz up a polymer clay focal to become a wearable piece pretty quickly. Some beads on it, a little bit of fabric, and all of a sudden I've got a highly decorative piece that can be worn pretty much straight away. 3-dimensional, different colours in there, pearls, crystals. It's come together really well. One more is going to fit in that. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. Now when you get to the very end of your bead embroidery stitch like that, so I'm at the very end, what I want to do is then go through the first bead added and just sort of gently push that so that that becomes a nice edge. Sometimes you're better off to have one less bead and stretch it over, or try and move it so that it's flat. So I may end up going back and taking one out, or see if I can move that a little bit. But I really just want to try and pop that one in. There. Oh yeah, that's going to go in. Okay. There's my nice edge. So look at that. Neatly finished. I've got my magnet in there. Clicks on. I can do a bail from this top piece just here, which is what I'll do. So I'm going to do something just on this edge though before I get to the bail. So I've got these sort of 3 edges here, and the bail will come off the top of this. So I want to do something just around these edges. So let's have a look at maybe the 2mm pearls that I had, because I have lots of those, and they might just go. There's different ways you can do this. I can just pull up a 2mm like this. So I'm coming through the hole of one of the size 8s, grab one of those little silver beads and go back through the size 8 and the 2mm. So if I just come back up through here. So what I've done now is tie back the size 15, the little purple beads that I've added in previously. So it just helps to create some cohesiveness with the piece by repeating the elements that are within the rest of it. So you can see here, that I'm just going to add those little purple beads. And I'm just doing it from where I was, my thread. I literally have just gone out of that same bead because I want to get back up to the top to be able to do the bail. But I will continue that little purple all the way around those little stop beads. And what that does is, because the holes are pointing out, it just creates a really neat finish there off that edge. Sorry, my phone was just ringing with one of those unknown numbers, which I just have refused to answer because I'm busy. So what do you think, people? You like this piece coming together? It's different shades of purple. So there's the darker purple of the fire polish, the eggplant purple that I've added in, which was the Duracoat, and then the pale lavender of the little purple pearls. So 3 lots of different purples with the same green. And the green that was within the polymer clay piece is the green of the beads that I've added to that as well. Now, a bail for something like this is generally, you would use, you can use a odd count peyote to create a bail, which is probably what I will do. But because I want it to be able to be utilised as a brooch and have a sort of a top to it, I need to put something in front of the bail so that the bail's not just obvious as something that's just sticking around the top without any decoration. So I've got an idea of what I'm going to do there, but I'll get to that shortly. So I really like these little green corners of this as well, because I think what that does, it just sort of draws your eye to those corner pieces too, and just has created a point of difference there on the piece. Don't know what I'll do when I get to this edge. Will I do the purple on that? Probably not. I may not do that right on those corners. Let's see when I get there. Literally designing as I go, so I don't really know what I'll do when I get to the green beads, but maybe I might just do some more green. Actually, that's probably what I'll do. More green to continue on that green corner theme. Yeah, that's what it'll be. I might not do all of this edge today or now because I want to move on to another piece, but I want to do the bail so that you get the gist of how this is almost finished without seeing all of this edge work being done. But as always, I do go off and finish these pieces after these live events. So, all right, so I've come to the edge where the green is. Let's just add some more green at the top of those so that I'm not doing purple on that. So I've just picked up the green beads again, and I'll do the same technique, I think. Yeah. So green with the little silver there. Yeah, that looks good. Green with the silver. So I've now just kept that same theme of drawing your eye to those corners with the green little fringe popping up there. Now this is where the top of this piece is, where I want to do the bail. So as I said, I won't go through and finish all of this edge here, but you'll just have to imagine, and you'll check back later, that I'll have all of this edge done with the purple all the way. But I want to get to the top here to be able to do the bail. Okay, now there's a couple of things I could do here. Maybe I might do herringbone. That might be easier because I've got 6 beads here. So there's 6 pairs potentially to do herringbone. That's what I'll do. Okay, I'm going to add some more thread though before I do that. So herringbone's a really nice flexible stitch to be able to create a bail from as well. And traditionally it's, generally I would do a peyote bail, but yeah, I think I'll do herringbone with the the size 8 beads and the pairs that I have there already. So let's add in another piece of thread. So there's a few then different stitch techniques that you've seen in this today. So there's some bead embroidery, some edging, there'll be some herringbone stitch as well, how to attach a magnet, lots of different techniques in here today. Okay, just going to add on this thread. So again, I'm just going to join and burn that. So I tie a loop around my new thread, put it over the existing thread, draw the knot down close to the work, give those ratty ends a little haircut so they're nice and neat. Grab my lighter, which is somewhere here, there it is, and then just melt those very gently and draw that together. Run my thumb and forefinger over it and join that knot, round it out, and now I'm ready to do the next bit of beadwork. Okay, so herringbone, I don't know if I've done one of these on a design on the fly before, but it's pick up 2 beads, go through, down through the next bead, come up through the next one like that. And what I'm creating is these little stacks. So pick up 2, come down through the next bead, and then come up through the next one. Pick up 2 and come down through the next one. Now I'm right at the edge here, so I have to do a turnaround because I want to be coming back out of this bead right here. So I'm going to go back through the bottom bead there added, and then I'm diagonally going to come over through that first bead on the edge, and that's how you do a turnaround with herringbone. So again, pick up 2 beads, come down through the second bead, and then up through the next bead. Like that. Just sort of looped around a little bit. There we go. I need to pop out some more size 8. So you can see now how that little herringbone bail will build. And then what I want to do is do some fringing in front of this so that it ties in with this piece, but it also becomes a bit of a feature when this is being used as a brooch and not a pendant. I just had this boring bail at the top. I don't think it would look very nice, but I think with some fringing on the front of it, it becomes a feature then at the top of it. I don't need the bail to be particularly big. I just need it to be able to go around a silk cord, which I'll grab one out in a second and show you what I mean. So again, picking up 2, going down through 1 and coming up through the next bead, and that's what creates the little V's of the herringbone. So you can see there's sort of little V shapes there. So pick up 2, come down through 1. I'm at the end here, so I go back through the, what do you call it, the adjacent bead, and then diagonally go up to the edge here like that. So you can see here now I've got sort of 3 little columns of 6 beads. Nice and quick to be able to build that little herringbone stacks. I'll probably need maybe 5, 7, I think probably 7 will be enough to create a little tube, because I'll just fold this back on itself to create the bail for this piece. Just like that. And you can see here, I can start to see how that'll wrap around. Yeah, I definitely need a couple more. It's not flexible enough yet. Did I pick up 2? I picked up 3 then, look at that. Okay, let's just take one of those off. Two. Okay, is that going to wrap just yet? Not yet, a couple more. Partly because I've used a size 8 bead, it's a little bit chunkier. So it hasn't got quite the flexibility yet, perhaps of what an 11 bead would, but I really wanted to keep in the same theme and colorways. So the compromise is that the bail rows need to be slightly longer so that they will fold amongst them, upon themselves. But it's only 6 beads across, so it's not very big. So I just want to be able to sort of attach it like that so that I create a tube to be able to pull the cord through. I think I still need at least one more row. Okay, is that going to fold? Yep, I think that'll fold. Okay, so I want to attach this back to this edge here, the very first edge beads that I had. So I'm coming out of a top bead, so I'm just going to go through one of the bottom beads and fold that on itself, like that. I'm going to come back up through the next bead at the bottom and go up through the second bead there and then back through the next one. Yep. So I'm literally just sort of zipping these herringbones together by using the bottom beads from the edge and then the herringbone columns to join it together. Where did that one go? It got caught just there. Hard to see the fire line here. It's blended particularly well. Okay, through the fourth one and then through the edge herringbone. Through the edge piece up there. Okay, I've now got a really nice little tube, but I want to decorate the top of this tube so that it stands out as a feature on the piece rather than just a bail. So just get my awl just to sort of round out that herringbone bail, and I know that my cord will fit through that beautifully. And let's just do some decoration right in the front of it. So I'll just attach that, make sure that it's nice and secure by going back through those beads again. So you can run your sort of needle right around the edge of that herringbone too to tighten that little tube loop as well, tube look. And I want to do some sort of finish on the top here. So let's go back to the purple, those little 4 mils that I had. And just to give that sort of definition to the very top of this piece. So my needle literally is coming out of anywhere in the edge there. So I'm just going to add that same sort of fringing. So there's one of the little 4 mils. Again, just poke your needle through anywhere on this. Pick up, the same sort of little stacks that I did before. So 3 of the green, a little fire polish as well, silver, just to tie that off. Poke that all the way through. Really decorate the top of this bail so that it's a part of it rather than just the bail. So again, I've just picked up the purple little 2mm pearls, and I'm repeating all of the same fringing patterns that I've had from the previous either flower center or the edge pieces. You can see there that's just added an extra dimension to the top of this piece. Now, what do you think about that? Let me just grab out a silk cord so you'll see what I mean about joining that together. And it is one of these black twisted ones, I think. How did you put the fringing on the cab? Okay, Lavinia, what I did at the very start was I drilled a hole right through the center of the cab. Right in the middle of the flower there, I drilled a hole, and then I just attached the beads through that hole. So if you go back to the start, you'll be able to see that. But yeah, it was pretty simple. I just grabbed the drill and drilled a hole right through the middle. So you see I've got my hole there. I really just want to try and thread this cord through the hole. So so you could use a chain or a cord, it doesn't really matter. Just want to get it through that little tube that I've created. There we go. So now there's my multi-use piece. It can be a pendant like this with the cord, or I can take the cord off and it can be a brooch with that on the back. And with that, all I do is just take that plastic casing completely off this piece, just trim it away. And now that will just attach, there you go, to the back of the piece there. So that can be a brooch or it can be a pendant with the cord. So I'm not going to finish this one now because I want to move on to something else, but my thoughts will be is to do a little bit more fringing at the very top of the bail here. And then I'm going to continue that edge all the way around. So the little green bits at the corner, continue those 2 mils around the sides and then across the bottom. So that in itself can be a brooch or it can be a pendant. So there you go. There's the first piece that we've, nearly finished today. So tell me, what do you think about this one? If you love it, pop a purple heart in the comments and let me know what you think about that one. Okay, let's have a look at some of these other beads then that Michelle has given me today. I love these Samos beads in this grape colour. Chatoyant grape, that one's called. So let's go to one of my contrast pieces here and think about what colour contrast goes really well with that. Well, I've just done purple and green, so I want to probably let's do purple and orange together. So these contrast cards, so they have all of the hex color numbers written on the back of them. So the hex colors are what, if you're working on a computer and you want to do color selections on computer, the hex colors are what actually tell you what the screen color is on your computer. But I'm going to add these Samos beads and I'm going to put them with orange because I think that looks really nice together. So let's get out some orange beads. So I've got some matte, I've got different orange tones. Let's see which one actually works well with this. Okay. So there's a metallic orange there, which is one. There's a matte orange, which is another sort of rust colour, which is sort of that tone there. There's this sort of sparkly orange, which is there. I think that one is too orange. That's the opaque. That's definitely not. Then there's more metallic orange. It's slightly different shade to that one. Or there's a size 8 in that. I'll just leave those out for the minute. So I really like the thought of those sort of orange beads together. Purple hearts everywhere. Thank you, people. Let's grab out some more purple beads as well. So there's a purple here, that's called Purple Orchid. So that might work with it too. All right, I'm going to get a new thread out. I am just going to start with Fireline, even though I don't know what I'm going to make yet. But I want to play around with the Samos beads and intersperse potentially maybe the Lipsi bead in there, maybe even the pinch bead. No, that's the wrong colour. Maybe the dark violet Piros bead might go in there somewhere as well. So this to me I think is going to be a component. So this type of component is perfect for building out either a bracelet or a necklace or earrings. I love making these types of things, which are really super simple components that you can build on. I don't know where the skull came from, Rosemary. I don't know how you managed to put a skull in there. You don't like skulls, so I don't know where the skull came from. Okay, what do we think about this purple and orange together? Is it a yes vote for purple and orange? I think it is. So again, if you like purple and orange together, pop a little orange heart or an orange symbol in the comments and let me see what you think about that one. I'm just popping out some purple and orange beads on my very messy desk here, but it gives you a bit of an idea of, you know, how my mind is working with these as well. So I've got Samos beads. I've got my colour card here, which is helping to sort of select the colours as well. I've got some orange beads around. There's still some of the purple that are left over from before, but what I'm really going to focus on today is these beautiful Samos, and they were called the Chantoyant Grape was the colour. Chatoyant Grape. So they're a 2-hole bead. Again, these are about 5 by 7 mil. So a lot of the 2-hole beads are very similar sizes. They're slightly wider than the Lipsi bead, which is a 4 by 7, and they've got more of a domed top than the Lipsi bead. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up a purple to start with. So again, I want them to be facing the same way. So I've got to make sure that I put my holes in exactly the same spots, or needle through the same spot. So purple size 11 bead in between each of those ones. And for something like this, generally I would put, say, 6 beads in a circle, 6 or 8. Not often would I use an odd number unless I was going to be going around something that needed the odd number. But if I'm just sort of starting with a component piece, it would generally be an even number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's do 8. Okay, 8 beads and then an 8. And I'll pop those again into a circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. And I'm just going to tie a really nice circle. Lavinia, I am an orange person. I love orange. I wear a lot of orange colours. Corals, oranges, I really like it. So looks good with this purple though. Orange and purple look really nice together. So if you're ever looking for colour inspiration and you can get a hold of these sort of colour boxes or colour cards, they're a fantastic resource to be able to help with that. Okay, so let's bring in some orange in this. So I'm just going to come back up through the top hole of the Samos bead. You can see there's my thread just on the side. My tail is still there. I'll just hold that out of the way for the minute. And I want to bring in some orange. So I grabbed out some size 8 beads, but I think I probably need a bicone or something to give it a little bit of glitz first. And I know I purchased a little while ago some lovely matte orange Preciosa crystals. So let's grab out some of them. And they're going to look really nice in here too. All right, if I pop now 1 between 2 is probably, I've still got a bit of a gap there. I need a size 15, I think, either side. And I think the contrasty sort of metal colour with this is gold. And I do love to use a metallic contrast with this type of thing as well, because I think when you're making a component, the metallic contrast works really well when you're using findings, as in earring findings with something. So there we go. There's a little bit of orange crystal with a little bit of gold in there too. Gives me what's it called? Bollywood vibes, these sort of colours together. They're very Bollywood, the orange and purple with a little bit of gold. So I've just popped a size 15 either side there of that crystal. And what I love about putting the size 15, it also helps protect your thread from the sharp points that can be on crystals. So always think about trying to protect your thread as well to stop it shredding. So there's a really nice little sort of start of that component. What do we think about that as a start for this orange and purple? Now, if I'm going to put something in the middle of this, if it's a rivoli or a purple pearl or an orange pearl maybe, I've got some 14 mil pearls that could sit right in the center of this, or it could be open as a bit like a daisy. Looks a little bit like a daisy with those Samos beads. Don't know. We'll see how it goes. As always, I am making this up as I go. I don't know what this is going to end up being, but generally these types of components are really handy just to be able to make up, you know, a piece, a pair of earrings, build them out to become the center of a pendant or necklace or bracelet cuff type thing as well. So the orange crystals look really nice, the matte crystal there. Okay, so now I've got a nice purple Samos bead, the purple center on there as well with a bit of orange. Now automatically, if I bring my needle out through that size 15 bead, what I want to do is start to build something around that edge of the 4 mil. Let's go back to our purple bead. So again, tying some of this purple and orange together. So if I pick up 2 purple and then maybe 1 orange and 2 purple in the size 11s, go back through the next 15 Samos and 15, and I think that's going to sit just nicely over the edge of that crystal, just like that. So can you see that there? Again, so 2 purple, 1 orange and 2 purple, and go through the 15 Samos and 15. And creates that nice little loop around that 4 mil. Still got a nice gap here too, potentially to do something else as well, but I'll just have a think about that. Now, am I happy with that? Yeah, I think so. The other way, no, I'm actually going to take that back a step. One of the ways to get a really nice point on these little picots is to just add 4 beads to start with and then go back and add the 5th bead or the center bead afterwards. So if you add all 5 at once, it becomes a rounded picot. If you add 4 and then go back and add the 5th one, it becomes a pointed picot. So I think I prefer this to be a point rather than a round. All right, so I'm just picking up 4 size 11s instead of the 5th orange one in the middle. Again, going through the 15 Samos and 15. And just popping that over the edge. So you can see now I've got this nice little hole just here with those 4 purple beads. But that's a really good spot then for me to add in the pointed center bead, which I will do when I've just done this round. It also helps just to give a little bit more security to your work because you're adding 2 rounds of thread all the way through the edge. And if it's going to be a, you know, standalone sort of component as in an earring component, then you want that to try and have a couple of threads around the edge just to make it a little bit more stiff and stay in shape. So 4 around, so 4 gives you a little sort of rounded but a nice gap, and then the 5th one makes it a peak, a pointed picot. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Now this purple and orange together, I could do a gold center potentially because I've added that little bit of gold on the edge. That might look nice, like a gold rivoli in there. Don't know. Leave it center or leave it open or put something in the middle. I'll have to have a think about it. I think it's probably going to need something in the center because I feel like slightly getting too wide for me for an earring piece at the minute. Maybe not, but it's probably too wide. 6 would make a nice earring. I think 8's a little bit wide for my liking, but it might still work out okay. So I've added my 4 beads all the way around. So what I'm going to do now is come back up through 2 purple like that and add in a 5th bead. So that 5th bead as an orange or as a gold. I think I need to do orange to keep that in line. So again, pop the orange just in the point there. go back through the 15 Samos and 15 again. That's sort of now, you know, 3 thread passes through that. Come back up through the 2 purple. Pop an orange right in the center, back through the 3. And you can see how that points that really well, that last little picot that I've just added. It just helps to create a really sharp little point on that. I think it tends to make it look more petal-like as well. Oh, this could be like a zinnia flower or something, is probably what I'm starting to think that it looks like. And you could potentially layer it, like do another one that sat around. Okay. So this could be, you know, 2 or 3 layers of the same type of piece, which then becomes a central focal. There's another way to think about a component. You know, I've done one now with 8 in the center, or starting, if I did one that had 12 and then it sort of sat on the outside of it. Yeah, thinking all the time how to build on something like this. So who participated in International Bead Week events over the last couple of weeks? There was a couple of Australian friendly time, or not a couple, there was quite a few Australian time friendly sessions. So I did a couple of those myself. I also did a design on the fly for International Bead Week. And if you're a member of the On a String VIP group, and if you're not a member, please join. The copy of the earrings that I made, there's a tutorial there for you to download for free and create your own pair of celebration earrings that I literally designed on the fly for International Bead Week. And they use the 12 colours. They use some of the Piros beads, which Michelle has given me some of those to utilise here as well, and some 14mm cabs for the centre. So really nice, easy pair of celebration earrings. So please join the VIP group if you would like a copy of that tutorial. And you can also see a demonstration of me making those on YouTube as well. So there is lots of ways to see how those earrings were formed. Okay, now I've got my lovely sort of petally piece now, which looks really good. The colour cards. Do I remember who made them? Yes, I do. I will grab the box and show you what it looks like. They're from a company called Sarah Renee Clark. This is the number 2 box. I'll just flip the camera so you can see. This is the number 2 box. I've got 2 boxes of these. I've got enough cards and colour scenarios to last me for a very long time, but I literally randomly just sort of went through and said, oh, okay, which colour will I select to find some purple cards? So yeah, Sarah Renee Clark, and it's an Australian company, and they're a really good resource for colour selection. So beautiful photography in them, and all of the hex colours, etc., are on the back. So, and there's 2 boxes, 2 different sets that she has, with lots of different colour combinations. So have a look at those if you're interested in some of those colour cards. Okay, let's go back to my flower that's here. I've still got the tail there. I'm not going to get rid of it just yet because I haven't really secured that centre. So I'm just sort of leaving that play around. But I think this needs to have a central focal or something in the middle of it. And then I think I could build out, oh, look at that. I could put an orange rivoli right in the middle. Look at that. So that's about a 16mm, I think. 16mm rivoli. I think that is there. Just measure that. 14mm rivoli. Okay. So that is going to look really nice, that really pretty orange right in the middle. So now I've just got to work out how I'm going to capture it. So I've got those 8 beads that are here from the very center, the size 15s, which will make a net over the back of that. So let's bring my thread down to that one of those size 11 beads. So again, I'm just using the Samos bead to travel through the beadwork. So I've just come down the side of the Samos bead there. You can't even see that. It's just sort of popped out of the side. And I want to bring my thread out of one of these size 11 beads just here. Because the size 11 beads are going to be a good anchor point to build a net to be able to capture that rivoli in the center. So ironically, the size of that center hole, the rivoli won't fall out the front of it. It'll just be captured. But I can now put a little net over the back. Okay, so I'll pick up the purple beads again, partly because I'm starting with a purple. I'm going to pick up 5 purple beads and go through the next purple bead. Just like that. And what that's going to do is create that little sort of net that I can capture the rivoli in. So again, pick up 5 of the purple. And then go through the next purple. I really feel like this could be either a beautiful big earring, probably, as I said, a bit too big for my liking maybe. But it would look pretty spectacular with a gorgeous, white linen dress in summer or something like that. And as I showed at the very start of this video, I have 3 purple pieces of my own. I really don't have any purple pieces. So it could be a really nice way for me to build up a purple pair of earrings. Or I'm just sort of envisaging layers of this type of component to create a large central focal. And, 3 or 4 layers of these Samos beads. Actually, how many have I got? That's going to determine how many layers I'm going to make. That will create a piece on its own right. So thoughts, people? Can you vision what I'm sort of thinking with this idea around a layered piece, or is this a component that stands on its own? I don't know yet. So I've got how many beads? 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. I've got 17 beads in the Samos there to actually use. So I mean, I can always order more from Michelle. And again, thank you, Michelle, for providing me with the design on the fly beads today. Michelle from Beadworx up in Queensland. And if you are looking for multiple colours of the same beads, Michelle has every colour under the sun pretty much of every bead that is around. So great selection there at Beadworx. And if she doesn't have it, she gets it in for you as well. So she's provided all of these purple beads for me today. It's interesting. I have lots of, no, I shouldn't say I have lots. I have a lot of purple beads, not as many as some of my other drawers of colour. And I obviously use it as a contrast, but it's not often a main colour for me. Okay, I've come up through the last bead, and I'm just going to come up through the centre of that first set of 5 added. I'm going to pop my rivoli just in place on those nets there. Yep, that's going to work. Now I want to come over to the next set of 5, to the centre bead of the next set of 5. Let's go to, what am I going to add in the back there? Maybe I might put this orange. So I'm just picking up 2 of the orange beads and I'm going through the next set of 5. Yep, that works. 2 of the orange and then through the centre bead on the set of 5. So I'm holding that rivoli in place with my thumb. 2 orange and then through the next centre bead. And it's creating a really nice little net around that piece. So 2 orange through the centre bead. Just just got to sort of count and make sure I'm going through the center bead each time. And what this will also give me, if I want to do some layers off this piece, these nets create another foundation for me to potentially bead off as well. So it may not be a whole separate layer that I attach. I could just work off this sort of central foundation to make another layer of the Samos beads and the little edge fringing. Okay. So I'm coming back through the first two set of orange beads added, and all of a sudden that rivoli is now captured in that piece. Now look at that. Bit of depth there with that colour and sparkle, and it's captured. I'm going to cover the back of it though, just so that it's nice and neat in the back. So I'm going to go back through all the orange beads first, just to tighten that. So I'm not going to go through the purple bead, I'm just going through the orange beads in that little ring. Tightening that all the way through, just making that rivoli nice and secure. Got a lovely little net there now, holding that in place. I now feel more confident in cutting off the tail thread as well, given that there's more security with the amount of layers that I've put on this with nets and things. And it feels nice and secure with the rivoli right in the middle. Okay, nearly at the start of this. So I've just skipped over the purple bead each time so that the orange beads are in their own little circle. Like that. Now I could do I'll do another layer just to cover that. So what will I do this time? I'll do purple. I need to pop out some more purple beads. Where did they go? Oh, there they are. Pop out a few more of them just to sort of cover off that back area. So I might do another little net maybe of, I'll do 5, but I'm going to skip over one of the joints of 2. So skip over and go through the purple bead back here. I'll do 5 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, skip over. So I'm just creating 4 nets this time instead of 8. Skip over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So I'm going through that sort of purple central bead from the first lot of nets. Like that. And then I'm going to come up through the center bead on this group of 5 and go through the, I'll pick up an orange, go through the center bead on the next set of 5. Yep, that works. Pick up an orange, go through the next center bead. An orange through the center bead. And an orange and through the center bead. So I've now got a really nice back on this piece as well. Rivoli's covered. Nice back that I can build other pieces from. There's the front. The rivoli's really, you know, front and center of this. Looks nice and sparkly. And I think that it needs to have some other layers off the back of this. Okay, to build that out. So to me, this is, it's too big for an earring in its own right, I think. I think it is. Even though I do love a big earring, I think this is too big as a beaded earring, and I really picture this as a central flower. I'm just going through the orange beads one more time on this, just to tighten up that center there. There we go. It looks really good. When the back looks as good as the front, it looks really nice as well. Okay, now let's think about some other layers of Samos. I'm going to cut off the tail thread now that I can do that. And build out some sort of layering. So let's just come out through one of those net beads there, net sections. And I really want the Samos, the second layer, to sit outside, you know, to give me a bit more depth out this edge here. So it's really about where is the start point then for them to come from. And it's possibly up here on the first lot of nets that I put in place. So I want the layering of the Samos to be so that it's opposite to this Samos bead. I want it to be behind that crystal, but I need to build up a little bit of length so that the Samos sticks out. So I'm just picking up 2 purple and then 2 the Samos and then another 2 purple. And then I'm going to come back through that next lot of nets just here. Let's see if that gives me the sort of length that I'm thinking about to layer that. Come on, there we go. Okay, yep, it does. See that? See how that sticks out behind the crystal? So it's this concept of layering something. I mean, I can come back and do some more crystals and things behind that, but I know that sort of works. So again, I'm just going to go up through the net that I have added there, like that. Pick up 2 purple, a Samos bead, so through the bottom hole of the Samos, 2 purple and down through the net, like that. It's a bit loosey-goosey at the minute, but I'm okay with that because I will want that to be joined with crystals. And look, potentially, do you know, I could actually do a 3rd layer of these as well with the same concept of doing the purple beads to lengthen the start position of the Samos. So maybe that's what I might do, 3 layers of this. Come up again through the net. They look, as I said, they look a little bit loose just for the minute, but they will, I can picture these with some more crystals and things on top of them to help build that out again. Now I've got some other fire polish there that Michelle's given me, some Lipsi beads. There are some gem duos there as well. So I probably need to think about what I might do with the next lot. So I'll finish doing some layering on this piece. I may not do the 3rd layer, but I can see now how this is going to work, and I'll play with some of the other things. So we've done purple and orange and purple and green. What's another color combo potentially to do with purple? Would you like me to select a card, or got suggestions of what might go with purple, or is it an all purple piece maybe that I'm going to play with? I don't know. Got any thoughts about what that might look like? The card has served us really well for this purple and orange together. I think it looks pretty special. Maybe it's another color combo. Purple and yellow, another one of my least favorite colors, but purple and yellow can look really good together. And there's that sort of mustardy color card there as well, or all sort of purples. Interesting to think about color combos. It's Honeybun just barking at something going by the front door. Okay, so there I've got my second layer there now, all the way around. And you can see it just gives more depth. I mean, it's not finished, but you can see how they sit behind the crystals. Gold, Lavinia. What am I doing? Purple and gold. Okay, good suggestion. Have I got 8? Yep, let's hope I've got 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Now I want to make them not as loose as what they actually are. So I'm going to come back up through the 4 purple. I'm going to probably have to need to add some thread here, I think. And remember, the Samos beads have the 2 holes, so I can actually do some definition around them. So maybe if I do 1, 2, 3 orange and go through the Samos, is that enough? No, I need 4. So if I do 4, or do they, no, they have purple. I think they have to have purple, and then I can do the same peaks that I've done over the crystals. Yes, yes. So let's add 4 purple. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go through the Samos bead, top hole. So see how that's wrapping around that now, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then down through those nets. Oh, a strong pink or Lavinia, you might be the winner. You can always get me with pink. 1, 2, 3, 4. So go through the 4 beads again. That's created a really nice frame now around that. Okay, and then come back up through the 4. It's just a little bit fiddly to get the needle in through the 4. I've sort of got to do it in two moves, but that's okay. The fire line blends so well, it's hard to see if it gets caught. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Through the Samos. Needle just come unthreaded. So you can see here see how that's forming that really nice shape around the Samos bead there. Really nice edge. I'm pretty happy with that. And then, of course, I think I need to do a 3rd layer on this piece. So it's good. It's good. Okay, some more thread. Thread hungry today. Again, I'm just going to do a melt and join knot because I'm just going through 11s and Samos. There's no sort of 15s to drag a knot through, several times. So it's at this stage anyway. So I'm sort of comfortable having the knot a little bit further back in the work at this point, not waste too much thread by cutting it off too much. But again, I like to give them a nice clean haircut before I melt and join them. Just find that works better than some of the frayed edges that can happen on the fire line. Pull that, and pink or blue. So maybe if we go to the dark violet colours next with some blues, that might look really nice, I think. And I've got those little check daggers with the magic blue, so that might be the next thing to think about. Okay, so let's go 4 more purple, back down through the net beads there and the 2 that I added previously. There's my knot, come through. Yep. So as soon as I start to add those edge beads around the Samos, it just holds it in place really nicely. Stops it from being loose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Through the Samos. And the Samos beads they're part of that Parpuka range. So there's lots of different 2-hole bead shapes with Parpuka beads. And this is one of them. I've used these before in other things. They're a nice bead to use, particularly if you're doing a decorative tassel. They go really nicely around a tassel. A good shape for that. Just caught that in the middle. There it is. Come on. But yeah, adding these extra sort of arms around these Samoses giving them a really nice definition. You just need to do that move in 2 parts. It won't go up through all 4 beads at once, partly because of the angle from coming from the net, I think is part of the reason, but it just means I've got to just do that move in 2 parts rather than 1. Normally I'd try and get it all through all 4 beads at once, but I have to do it a little bit slower. Okay, I need some more purple. I haven't used that sort of rust colour. It's going to be a nice mess for me to clean up afterwards, but that's okay. I haven't used the rust coloured bead or the orange Duracoat bead with this. And not to say that I won't yet, but I haven't added those colours in with this just yet. But one of the best tools I have will be my bead sorter to help sort out some of those sizes of beads, particularly if you don't have one of those. I got one from Jill, the clay lady down under, has created some 3D printed bead sorters, and seriously, I've used it. I use it every day when I'm beading because it just helps me clean this mess up that ends up on my board every time. And I put a little video up on my YouTube channel of how it works. So if you're interested in seeing the bead sorter, have a look at that. And Jill from the Clay Lady Down Under is where that came from. And I know a couple of you have got them as well. And yeah, great for helping to clean up your bead boards and mess, because here I've got purple, gold, silver, orange, green, bit of everything out at the minute. And as much as it won't help me sort by colour yet, so it's not at that point. But it's certainly very handy for helping to sort beads by sizes. It's a really good little shaker for doing that. So check that out on my YouTube channel if you're interested in seeing how the bead sorter actually works. Okay, I'm nearly at the end of this. This is a little bit tedious just going slowly around it, but you can see the lovely definition it's created around the Samos beads by popping that extra 4 beads around the sides. The curve shape has all come together from those petals, so the back looks, as I said, when the back looks as good as the front, it's a really nice piece. And it's enabling me to be able to layer more, and I think it's going to be another layer of this piece as well. So really happy with how this little design on the fly of purple and orange has come together. And the more layers of this that I'm putting in, and the more sort of thread paths, the stiffer this is becoming, which is it's now becoming a substantial piece in its own right. So more layers of thread and beads help to build out the guts of this piece, I suppose you could say. So I'm nearly at the end of my last one. So again, it's just a little bit fiddly there to get through the 4 beads. So I'll just go through 2 at a time to get to that right point. And then I'm going to do some more edge. So I think the same edge as what I did on around the orange crystals will be the 2 purple and then the peak of the orange center. And I think it's probably going to need some sort of joining bead in between the Samoses as well. Okay, last one. So now you can see all those veins of purple all the way around the outside edges of the Samos beads. See that? Back through the 4. And there's the front side. So again, really nice layered piece that we're creating here. Okay, I'm going to come back up through all of those edge beads now. So I want to get back up to the top of one of those set of purple beads. And it's just a little bit fiddly to get your needle right in there, but it does go eventually in there. And come out through the top. Okay, so what I did before was 2 purple and 1 orange. So this is a little bit of a bigger shape though, maybe it'll work. If I go through, I'm just going to go through 1 bead to start with because I want to join those Samoses together. Yep, that's going to work. So let's go back to my crystals that I had before, or is it a purple bead? I think maybe it's a purple bead, not a crystal. That's the wrong color, purple. Ugh, that's horrible. Is it? No, it's not one of them. Is it a gem? No, it's not a gem duo. Is it one? Nope, it's not any of them. Oh, maybe it's that sapphire polish that Michelle gave me. Maybe that one might work. Yep. Funny when you put a colour to something, and there you go. There's that sort of lavender on the card. So it's a good match to have in this as well. So again, I've got that gold that I want to bring in. So I'll pick up a 15, a fire polish in the gold, and go up through 1 bead here. Yeah. Pick up 4 purple, 1, 2, 3, 4 purple, go back through 1 bead like that, and pick up the gold, the fire polish and the gold, and then up through 1 purple. So you can see how that's now filling out that shape. What do you think, people, of this one? The layered, I've just got, as I said before, I've got the term zinnia in my head when I think of this. Am I right, Rosemary? Is it a zinnia that's a sort of layered flower? You know, I'm not a gardener, but I feel like that's what it looks like. Is it sort of layering of a piece? So 1, 2, 3, 4, up, down through 1, gold, purple, gold. And I know I normally start these sessions about 11, but I was doing a class actually this morning with Cindy Holsclaw, so I had to make the start a little bit later today, so I apologise for that, and I hope that didn't inconvenience anybody too much, but I was actually learning something new this morning with a class with Cindy on Zoom, the chrysalis pendant, which is Cindy's background is a biochemist or bioscientist, something along those lines. I'm sorry, Cindy, if I haven't got that terminology completely correct, but very mathematical in the way that she designs beadwork. So there's lots of counting and creation of shapes and forms that are a bit more scientific than me mucking around on design on the fly. Completely different styles. I think in terms of design, mine, as you have seen me do this, is very organic. I'm literally making it up as we go. So it's we all have different ways of doing things. Okay, now I want to come back to the center of those purple beads. Remember what I said earlier about a center makes a peak and even number makes it round or without the center peak. So I want to pop that orange bead, I think, right in the middle there as well. And again, I'm going to come up through the 15 and then potentially do some sort of thing over the 15 as well. So again, I might do, maybe I might do all orange. 1, 2, 3, 4. I know what I'm going to do. Orange, purple, orange, purple, orange. So I've picked up 5 11s. That might be too many, but we'll see. I'm going to go through the gold and then through to the center of the group of 4 from before. Does that add? Yep, look at that. That works really well. Okay, orange, come back down through to the 15. And all this is doing, you know, the more layers or edge components that I add, it's just adding depth and strength to this piece as it's going. And then I think potentially there's another layer that I could do with the Samos beads as well. So that was orange, purple, orange, purple, orange through the 15. And then up through the center. Yeah, pretty happy with how this has come together. And I love the back of it too. The back looks really nice as well. I do think it's got the depth to have another layer. And how many? Oh, I've got 1, 2, 3, 9 Samos beads. So I think I could potentially still do one more layer on this. And again, use, you know, one of these sort of edges of netting to build out another layer and create a triple layer pendant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A little bit tricky getting through the 15 bead, but that's okay. It just got to get your needle just in the right spot. Coming up through the 3 purple to the center and creating that little point. What do you think about that? Rosemary, am I right? Is it a zinnia? It's nice and sparkly. Got the purple, the orange, bit of gold. As I said before, very Bollywood vibing. Now, I don't think I'll attempt the 3rd layer of this. I want to move on to some of the other beads today. So I've got a suggestion, 2 suggestions for pink to go with the purple, and I think that's probably where I'm going to go. Some hot pink maybe with the purple. All about angling the needle in just the right spot to get through that 15. There it is. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this layering too, Lavinia. I think it looks really nice. It's just given it a whole lot of depth to this piece by doing the layering, and I think a 3rd layer is what I'm going to need. So it's actually it's a bit ruffly as well. It's not completely flat. So, you know, the ruffling is making it look a little bit more flower-like too, I think. You know, petals aren't completely flat either. So I like the fact that it's doing that sort of ruffle. And that additional layer will create this then as a sort of a standalone piece, I suppose. So just the trickiest part is just getting through that 15 bead around that fire polish, but nearly there, nearly at the end. And then coming up through to the center. Orange. And always when I do these sorts of designs, I'm often thinking about what this would be like to teach or, you know, design, do that sort of next step. So then I'll be thinking about what improvements do I need to make, or, you know, how does this translate for someone to be able to get all of these fiddly little bits and pieces of beads, because this has now got quite a few different beads in it. It's got 2 size 11s, it's got some 4mm bicones, it's got some 4mm fire polish, size 15s, a 14mm rivoli. So there's a few little bits of components now that go into something like this, and that always is interesting when you're thinking about teaching something to people, about how do they either access all of those beads, or is there a way to simplify that as well. So always a consideration when I'm designing something, about how do people find all the different beads that might go into a piece if I'm going to teach it as well. But that's what's going through my mind right now. How would I potentially teach this, or do I need to? I don't know. Okay, there we go. There's a layer there of all that ruffling, and I really like the way that's sort of coming together. So I'll just hold it up a bit closer so you get to see that. Look at that. Really pretty with the layers. You would like to learn a layered class at the retreat. Thanks, Lavinia. You're my biggest champion for getting me to come up with new designs. But I think this looks really nice, this sort of layered with the Samos beads, fire polish, lots of different pieces. And I think it has another layer that's going to live off this as well. So a third layered piece. So, but I'm not going to do that now because I want to move on to something else. But if you can get the gist of what I'm going to do here, I am going to do one more layer and make that even bigger again. It then lends itself to have a rope or something come from that as well, as much as I don't really like to make beaded ropes. But I've brought in the colours, and it's really interesting when I lay it here on this colour board, how those colours have actually come together and really matched in well with that colour selection. Look at that. Really happy with the way the colours have worked with this. So, you know, maybe that's the class, is actually going through the colour cubes and picking things out and working out, you know, how you're going to layer and build that colour selections together. But pretty happy with how that's come together. As I said, I'm going to do one more third layer. I'm going to work out how to sort of potentially go once more around those edges, just even though I'm happy with it ruffling, just to sort of help that settle a little bit again. So, you know, it's maybe one more layer right around that edge, and then another layer of the Samos bead, so it's becoming then a triple layered piece. So that's a really interesting way to look at the purple and orange colours together. So I'll actually take a photo and put that in the Facebook group for the colouring cube lady, because it's really great to be able to show how colour cubes can be used in beading, because a lot of people just use them for doing colouring in books, which I'm not into, but I love the thought of it for the beads. Okay, look at the mess here, but I'll just sort of move that to one side and think about what's next. Okay, so we've got the Lipsi beads still to think about. I've got some gem duo beads. There's the Piros beads in this sort of dark violet colour. And maybe this is a piece that is all purples and maybe not even a contrast colour in it. There's the pinch beads as well. So they sort of match really well with the Piros beads. So let's pop some of these Lipsies out. And this is called La Divine Lilac. And then there's some gem duos here too. And they're in the pastel lilac colour. Let me just get that needle and thread over there. So do you like the thought of the colour cubes and playing around with those? A really great way for me to think about other colour combos to put in together. So now again, 2-hole beads, often they might not have a hole all the way through. I can see by looking at that Lipsi bead that I need to just poke that to get the hole all the way through. So always look when you're putting a 2-hole bead in something that you can actually get a needle through those holes. So the Piros bead, are the holes in the same spots? Yeah, sort of the same spot. So they will actually sit nicely between the Lipsi. I'm literally just picking up beads. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. I'm just picking them up and seeing how they sit together. But you can see there, the Piros bead is like a little arch. So it's got a pointed top So I can put the Piros and the Lipsi right next to one another like that. Look at that, and they sit really nicely together. Because the two holes line up, I can actually push those together like that. Now, what will this become? I have no idea. Let's just pop a couple of them together and see what they look like. So the colours, the dark violet and the lavender look really pretty together as well. Really nice sort of contrast between the two. I'm just popping these into a ring at the minute, I think. Maybe it's a ring. Oh no, I won't, because I think the colours are too thick to be an actual ring. But you can see how those colours, the contrast is really nice together. Does it become a circle? Maybe it becomes a circle, but let's just add a few more on and see what happens. I've just got to be mindful to add the Piros beads in the same direction each time because of the peak of the Piros. I don't have to worry about it with the Lipsi bead so much, but the Piros beads, if I get it in the wrong way, then the peak goes the wrong way, like I just did that one just there. So that means it's got to go in the other hole. And maybe that might be, you know, 4, or how many do I got there? 5, maybe 6. 6, let's do 6 sets of these together, because when I did 8 before for the previous piece, 8 became too big for an earring for me, whereas 6 might be a nice number to come together. Yep. So I'm just going to tie those into a loop. And these are sort of fun matte colours. You know, they're not the Duracoat colours, they're matte. So again, different beads I think will contrast really well with this. I don't think I'd put the shiny. I think I'll put matte beads with it. So I'm going to go through all those beads again just to secure that sort of centre thread, because I didn't knot that just yet, but I'll just go through them again. And these are a lovely, you know, sort of chalky finish, I suppose, this particular selection. And this is dark violet and a sort of lavendery pinky purple together. So neither of these are true, well, the darker one's probably a closer purple than the Lipsi bead, but they are a nice contrast in the same family of purples. And again, I might grab out a colour card and see where these sort of live like that as well. Okay, so that's a nice little ring there. Again, 2-hole beads are fantastic to be able to move, you know, to travel around your beadwork. So I'm just going to go through one of the Piros beads, and then I'm going to come up the side of the Piros bead rather than the Lipsi, only because I'm using the dark fire line, and the dark fire line, you can't even see that against the dark purple, where you could possibly see that against the lavendery colour. So I need a seed bead to go in this now. So is this maybe it's the matte silver. The matte silver might be perfect for that. And that is, where are they? Matte silver. Definitely got some. There we go. Okay, it's check silky silver, these ones are called. So there, again, you know, matte bead with a matte bead sort of thing. If I pop a silver bead in between each of those on that, so it's going around the top hole now. So really simple. Yep, that's going to work. Now, again, this sort of little tiny components, fantastic for just thinking about how you would, you know, create a pair of earrings, use them to build a bracelet, use them to create a set of components that become a necklace. There's lots of different ways to use components to build off things. You could, you know, make some sort of adjoining rope potentially to hold these things together. And again, with the, you know, there's a center hole here as well that's forming because of this. So then I start to think, oh, do I pop something in the center of this as well and, you know, capture it like I did the rivoli on the larger piece? And maybe I do. Maybe I'll get out a nice 10 mil crystal will go in that hole. So I've got that nice sort of shape there that could have a crystal right in the middle of it. Again, I know I said about matte beads before, but this could have one of these little things in it. So this is my sort of SS39 box. I do have some matte pink, I think they're called they're bigger size than SS39. I can't remember the exact name of it. I've also got some hot pinky ones there. Maybe that one might work. They might be a little bit too small. I thought I had some aqua ones, but maybe they're in another box. There's a bigger, you know, sort of crystal that size would go in it as well. So the SS39 beads have a flat top, whereas the rivoli has a pointed top to it. And the flat top of this, maybe even a plain white might work as well. So I've got some choices there. Okay, so I've got either the 10 mil size, which that will work. It'll fit in there. Or I've got that 8 mil size. So I don't know which one's going to work. I like the thought of the white and the 8 mil, but I think it's too small to go in the middle there. It is. Okay, so the white's not going to work. All right, let's do the matte pink then and see whether that's actually going to work. So I'm eventually bringing in pink. Yeah, that will work in the center. So, you know, I don't have to put a centerpiece in this, but I think it's a bit sad without it. So I'm just tightening that, pulling that a little bit tighter. Again, I need to do something around this outer edge, whether it's more silver beads or maybe I need to bring in pink now as well. I'm going to come through. Maybe I'm just going to do it over the Piros. Let's think about that. So maybe let's just go over the Piros bead. And I could just add maybe 3 silvers over the Piros just to create a nice little picot. Yep, just like that. So 3 silver over the Piros. So I'm leaving the Lipsi bead to stand in its own right. I've been playing around with these Lipsi beads with a couple of other designs, so I've been using them to capture cabs, and yeah, that's a really nice technique as well. So there is a potential class coming up with that one. I can't say where yet, but it has been submitted. So the Lipsi garden pendant, I'm calling it, because they're a really nice little bead to capture some of those lovely floral cabs that are around. Okay, so that's nice and secure now. I've got the silvers all around the edge there, which look really nice. The peak of those Piros beads is facing upwards, so it's a nice little point, but I want to be able to set that nice pink SS bead, SS41 maybe, that's what it's called. Okay, let's bring the needle back down to the center again. So again, I'm using the Piros bead to travel through my beadwork. And I can create that same sort of net concept as what I did before. A little bit different though, because this is much more pointed with that bead. So maybe if I set it in instead, and I might do a net over the edge of it. Yeah, that's going to work. Okay, now I'm just conscious that I've used Fireline with these Lipsies and it's just sort of marked the front of it. So I'm just going to have to wipe that off. That's a bit of a pain. the yuck of using fire line, but anyway, I'll clean that off later. So if I set that in there like that, and I just pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is probably going to be too many, but we'll see. 5 over the Lipsi like that. 5 or 4 did I just get there? I just got 4, not 5. I need it to be an odd number because you need to be able to create the peak. That's the back, not the front, and I can tell that's the back because that's the flat part of the Piros bead. Sorry, I just need to take that off because that's gone to the back, not the front. Or at least the dirty mark is on the back, not on the front. Okay, good old fire line. Potentially I could have used crystal fire line with this, which would have made it a little bit easier to keep it a little bit cleaner. But I like the thought of these sort of matte. And these are a vintage vintage SS bead that's come from Nez from the Bead Nerd. Okay, so again, I'm coming through the Piros bead. I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the size 11, go through the next Piros bead just to create that little loop there that will help me net that in the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if these size 11s are too big, which they may well be, I might swap that for a size 15, but I don't think I've got the 15 in the matte, which I would like to keep at that, but if I haven't got them, I haven't got them. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that. I'm just going to undo that. So let me take those mattes off that. Don't like that. I'm happy with that. Well, this, I really want it to be the white bead, but maybe if I do a front and a back. Do I like the white or the pink? I think the white. I'm going to hold it up closer. That's the white one. It's a little bit small, but I think I can make it fit. And then that's the pink one. The pink one fits better and sort of sits on top of the Lipsies, but I like the thought of the white in the middle of it. I think it's the white. Yeah, let's work out how I'm going to do the white. So I might need some more. What do I need? Maybe a white bead. That would work, and then it's going to blend really well. Okay, let's find a white size 15. White size 15. I know I've got some here. Here they are. So that way, it's not going to really detract then from the center of the SS39. I wish I had have started with crystal fire line and not smoke now that I'm using white, but we're just going to have to put up with the smoke. And that's partly because I never know what I'm going to make. Okay, so again, I'm coming out through that. I want to come out through the top of a Piros bead. The bottom hole of the Piros bead, which is in the center. I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the white, go through the next Piros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through the Piros. And these white beads are just they're like a bit of a pearlized white, just a size 15 standard, white bead. They've got, a little bit of a shine to them. Again, I don't have a huge amount of white beads either. I mean, it's not something I use a lot of, I suppose, but plenty of black beads, but not a huge amount of white beads. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this capture of, a center bead with a net like this is a really cool technique if you want to capture particular things. So again, I'm going to come up through the center bead. I want to draw that net over the top of, I think the white's too small. I'm going to have to use the bigger one, the crystal. I really want to use the white one. Okay, I'm going to persist with trying to use the white one because I like the color combo. Okay, I need a purple or some other bead color. No, I'm going to go back to silver. Pick up a center silver bead and go through the center of the white net there. Yep, that's it. Pick up a silver, go through the center of the white. So it's actually creating this sort of little star pattern on the front here. Pick up a silver and go through the center. Silver and through the center. At some point I can just remove that tail thread because remember I went through a couple of times at the very start. I didn't knot this one. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, so I hadn't knotted it. You could do either. You could knot it or knot it or knot it. Knot it or not. And then pick up another silver and through the center. So I should have 6 silver now in the center of this. Yep. I'm probably going to lose a little bit of the impact of the white bead. Oh no, that's not too bad. So the white's going to go right in the middle. Okay, what's happened here? That one's not cooperating as much. Just going to sort of draw that tight. Not too tight because I don't want to close it completely. I want to be able to still see the white right in the middle there. And I know why that's come over the... Just sort of move it around a bit so it's in the right spot. Yep. Okay. Now, if I just go through the center bead and the silver beads all again one more time, that will make that circle just close up a little bit. So right through the white 15 and the silver. Really nice, easy little component here. Good size for an earring. Again, I would have preferred to have used crystal fire line rather than smoke, but it is what it is. Okay, that one there is not, oh, that's because I've missed one entirely. That's why, Paula. It's not cooperating because I missed one. I need to undo that properly. There we go. So always, I mean, what I've been going a couple of hours now, so nearly 3. Goodness, that's enough, Paula. Getting tired, but that's okay. All right, I'm just going to finish this little bit off now. So again, through the center, silver, the white. Oh, that's better, and make that nice little circle. So I can now pop my little white SS39 into that gap and do a net on the back to hold that in place. So I move my needle to come through one more section. Just push it through to the back like that. Hold the SS39 in place. And the same sort of technique as what I did on the previous piece is just create a little net that goes over this to hold it in. So the size of this little ring, the SS39, just sits right in that little ledge just nicely. So it won't actually need a lot to hold it in place. So I'm just going to pop one silver bead in between on each of those Piros beads at the minute. So I'm going through the Lipsi and on top of the Piros. Let's grab out some more silvers. Just one little bead at a time. And just putting these extra layer of, you know, beads on top of another gives you something to anchor onto and create a little net. So I've now got the silver one there. So I'll come up through the silver bead, and I'm now going to add on maybe three silvers, and through the next silver bead. Yep, and that's going to come over the edge of that SS39. So 3 silvers through the next silver, 3 silvers through the next silver, 3 through the next. And you can see how it's just capturing that SS39 in place really easily. And I'll just net that by joining those center beads together like I've done on the other side. Okay, up through the center bead, and I'm just going to go through the center bead of each one of those previous nets. I'm not putting a bead in between that. Don't think I need to. I might have to go back and do that. I don't know yet. I'll just see what the spacing of that looks like. No, that's going to be fine. So I'm just going through the center beads each time. I should be through 6. When I draw that nice and tight, it's holding that SS39 in place really well. There it is on the front, and there's the piece. So that's the final of the pieces today. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you on here too. Thanks, Michelle, for the beads for today. The purple has challenged me, as I thought it might, but let's do a little bit of a recap of some of the things that I've done today. Okay, so the first one was this, it's a piece by Deb Myers, a polymer clay piece. And what I did was drilled a hole in the piece in a couple of spots, and I glued it down, created some fringe on the top of that, did some bead embroidery around the edge and a nice little fire polish that Michelle had provided. Then I mounted a sew-in magnet on the back, so this can actually be a brooch by taking that brooch back off with the magnet, and I added a little bail with a cord. So it can be a brooch or it can be a pendant. So I'm going to finish that by doing a little bit more on this other edge here and a little bit more on the fringing, so that the bail part is actually a feature rather than just the bail. So that was the first piece from today. The second piece was, I used the inspiration of these beautiful cards for colour. So I used this purple and orange colour palette, and I started this sort of creation of a layered piece. So this has got the Samos beads. I added a 14mm rivoli and some matte orange crystals along with purple and orange beads and 2 layers of Samos, but I'm going to do a 3rd layer. So that'll be a completely layered piece in the 3. And then just finally, I played around with some of the Lipsi beads and the Piros beads with some white and silver, just to create a really simple little component. So 3 pieces out of today. A little bit more work for me to finish on to get some of those completed, but I will do that over the next couple of days. And I want to thank you all for coming along and seeing me design on the fly today. I can't believe I've gone for almost 3 hours. So I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been fun having you along, and by all means, if you've missed some of this, go back and check it out on YouTube, and you'll be able to see it in full and see the finished pieces, because I'll pop those up too. So thanks everyone for coming along today. I've really enjoyed that. Bye for now. Hi, it's Paula. Just thought I'd update with a couple of the projects from the Facebook Live Design on the Fly Purple, just to show you where these projects actually ended up. So this one, if you'll remember, is the layered pendant. So this is using the Samos beads, and I started with a ring of 8, then did a second layer, which is just hidden underneath there, and then a third outer layer, and finished that with the orange matte crystals. So I decided against a rope, just a really simple little bar across the top, and then a nice cord. So this one, of course, matched beautifully to the colour card. So it was a great way to actually pick complementary colours to match the purple. So that was the first of the projects that I finished yesterday. The second one was this little tiny pair of earrings, so little stud earrings using the Lipsi beads and the Piros beads in the centres. I started the design with 6, but I actually finished it with 5 and then turned them into a stud. So they've got a really nice back on them. You can see here, and then the stud finding in those as well. So I've actually written a tutorial for this one, and if you're part of the On a String VIPs group, you can access that one for free, and that's the little stud earrings, little floral ones. And then the final piece was the bead embroidery pendant. So this one actually uses a Deb Meyers 3D polymer clay piece, and if you watch the video you'll note that I drilled a hole right through the center in a couple of spots. I glued it down onto the foundation, and then I used the hole to create that 3D effect with a little bit of fringing in the center of that flower. So if you sort of flip it on the side, you can see what that 3D looks like. I then did a bead embroidery edge with these little tiny green corners to match the corner of my surrounding backstitch row. I beaded a bail and put a bit of fringing on the top of the bail to match in with the floral fringing here, but I did tack the bail down at the back, so when you want to wear this as a brooch, by taking that magnet off, you can pull the cord out and you can just wear it as a brooch because the magnet just clicks straight onto the back of that. So that was the 3 projects from the Design on the Fly yesterday. I do hope you enjoyed watching that, and look forward to seeing you at another one sometime soon. Bye.